Hundreds of people gathered at St. George's Town Square Park for the dedication and unveiling of a long-awaited statue of Utah historian Juanita Brooks. A professor at Dixie College, Juanita later became a well-known author for revealing the truth.
We gather to honor the astounding achievements of Juanita Brooks. To Washington County Rap Tax, Art Around the Corner Foundation, the City of St. George, and the endless number of gracious donors, volunteers, and Brooks family members, we kindly thank you for so much that you have all done to usher into reality this tribute to Juanita Brooks.
A majority of those in the crowd were Juanita's relatives and were asked to stand or raise their hands. Juanita's one and only daughter and youngest child gave the opening prayer.
We are so grateful for her legacy, for her example, and for her teaching that each of us, many of us, were able to receive.
Her youngest son spoke about her love of her beliefs.
She always lived close to the Spirit. I remember sometimes she'd say, "Got a problem." So she'd think about it and pray about it a little. And then she would have what she called an inspired hunch. In the middle of the night, she'd get an inspired hunch, get up and write it down. The next day, she'd get up and solve the problem.
Juanita's love of telling the truth, no matter how hard it was for some in the Mormon religion to face, was indeed her legacy. The keys of her typewriter later became the keys to her success as a writer and researcher. She was most noted for her controversial findings of the Mountain Meadows Massacre. Based upon eyewitness accounts and confessions, the massacre was deemed a cover-up, where members of several families moving to California through southern Utah were purposely attacked and killed.
Juanita Brooks was the brightest intellect the state of Utah ever produced. We celebrate that intellect, but we also learn from the character behind it. On one occasion, after speaking about the writing of the Mountain Meadows Massacre, Juanita was confronted by a church member who self-righteously chided her for writing on such a controversial topic. She calmly replied, "The church to which I belong stands for the truth and the whole truth. If that is not good enough for you, perhaps you should find another church."
Community members and some church leaders questioned why she had written the Mountain Meadow Massacre. Even with all of this going on in her life, we, her students, knew nothing of her struggles, and she continued to teach as if everything was normal for her.
Juanita shared the historical narratives that she knew were true and let the truth speak for itself, no matter the discomfort that may and surely did follow. She is a heroine, and for this we honor her.
Juanita was also described by a granddaughter as a unifier.
Long after the Mountain Meadows Massacre book was published, she traveled to a Fancher family reunion and began a dialogue with them, which, as many of you probably are aware, began a dialogue with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and led to a healing and a unification that was very, very beautiful and significant. So her work did not end with the writing of that book.
While it took 5 long years for this statue to come to life, the unveiling was one of relevance today and one of reverence of the past. Doug Alder, who initiated the creation of this statue, was in awe like others.
She created the new Mormon history. And so instead of writing pro-Mormon history and con, that was set aside.
Family members and friends gathered to take their pictures in front of the new bronze statue.
I would spend many days with her up in Salt Lake when she's researching at the libraries, and I just have memories of her. She's the one who actually insisted that I have piano lessons and said to my parents if they didn't buy a piano, she would. So my dad is her oldest grandson.
She's got a large family and it was so influential to so many people's lives and impacted people's lives all over this community that I knew there would be a lot of people here.
Some were amazed how the artist created great details in the lifelike statue, including her eyes.
Look at her eyes, and then you look at the sculpture, Annette Everett, has captured the essence perfectly.
With only a few photos to go by, artist Annette Everett created details in this bronze sculpture from head to toe, making sure she would proudly represent Juanita Brooks.
And then I found an old photograph, and here it was. Here was the suit coat that she wore often. Her kids have mentioned that they remember it, and so that was good.
The statue even reveals some of the books she had written or studied.
I wanted to show the scope of her work, and so I did write the names of the books on the books so that people could discover that if they wanted to look that closely.
The statue took Everett about a year to complete. Everett felt privileged to be able to capture the essence of Juanita Brooks in this life-sized monument.
I loved making this statue. There is something poetic about a Utah woman being able to depict another important Utah woman. I think that's just poetic.
She was the dean of women's students here at Dixie. She was always opening doors that women maybe didn't think they could open. So for me, she was a role model, and she is for everyone, really.
The dedication of the statue also took place during Women's History Month. Many women leaders from across Washington County had their pictures taken after the ceremony in honor of their dedication to public service to the community.
I thought it was a great opportunity to acknowledge and honor women and all the work that they do in their lives in our community.
The statue is proudly displayed in memory of a woman who not only changed the recording of history, but influenced other women to take on brave new leadership roles. In downtown St. George, Melissa Anderson, Community Education News.